Imagine a formula, not a mathematical equation on a chalkboard, not a line of code hidden in a government server, but an invisible algorithm that silently calculates who will rise, who will fall, and who will stay trapped in lifelong financial submission. An algorithm that does not need your consent, your vote, or your understanding because it already has your future predicted. If every global economy appears to grow, yet poverty remains constant, debt rises faster than wealth, and wages lose value every decade, then there's only one conclusion. The game was calibrated long before you were born. Today, we're peeling back the financial veil most economists avoid and most governments deny. Because behind the global banking systems, behind the debt-based growth charts, behind international monetary agreements, there is a silent system that extracts wealth while convincing us it's progress, and it started far earlier than you think. To understand how this hidden algorithm controls global poverty, we first need to understand three things. Money no longer represents value. Debt is no longer a problem, it is the product. Financial growth is no longer measured in wealth, but in dependence. And although modern central banks, IMF policies, and global trade laws seem like neutral economic institutions, they are actually the perfect delivery system for an invisible mechanism designed to generate perpetual extraction without visible force. But how did it begin? Who built the foundations? And why does it still work flawlessly today? The story starts centuries ago, not with finance, but with control psychology. Centuries ago, kings, empires, and warlords controlled populations through physical power, armies, prisons, and direct threats. But physical domination had a major flaw. Violence is expensive, rebellion is risky, and fear eventually loses influence. A smarter form of control was needed, a system where people believe they are free while their decisions are mathematically limited. This breakthrough arrived when early bankers and monarchs realized something extraordinary. If you control credit, you control choices. If you control choices, you control behavior. This philosophical seed led to the first versions of interest-based lending, national borrowing, and currency manipulation. What emerged was not just banking, but the prototype of a predictable dependency system. From the Medici bankers in Renaissance Europe to the rise of private central banking charters, the true power was never gold, land, or military might. It was controllable debt combined with controlled access to money. Fast forward into the 20th century, wars reshaped nations, economies collapsed, and new systems were desperately needed. This was the perfect moment for the hidden algorithm to evolve into its modern form. World War I, World War II, and the Great Depression revealed a key insight. When nations are afraid, they borrow. When they borrow, they surrender future control. This led to the rise of institutions like Central Reserve System's International Monetary Fund, Bank for International Settlements, World Bank. These institutions claimed to stabilize economies. But they did something far more powerful. They standardized global financial dependence. Now, money creation was no longer tied to real assets. It became a ledger entry, a digital promise, a mathematical unit manipulated from thin air. The algorithm matured the moment money was detached from tangible value. This transition quietly transformed every citizen into collateral and every government into a predictable debtor. The modern world's financial turning point happened when nations began adopting fiat currency, money backed by trust, not substance. This shift created an infinite money supply with infinitely compounding debt expectations. Here's the hidden effect. Money supply could grow forever, debts could grow forever. But wages were capped by labor output, and inflation acted as a silent wealth vacuum people earned. Saved and invested, but the value was always decreasing. The world now operated under a silent, unspoken rule. To keep the system functioning, the majority must remain slightly poorer than last year. Without realizing it, inflation, taxation, and debt interest became the three pillars of invisible extraction, soft enough not to trigger rebellion, consistent enough to assure predictable outcomes. The algorithm expanded globally through aid loans, development contracts, and currency dependency deals. Through this model, poorer nations never failed, but they also never escaped. They simply paid forever. Countries rich in natural resources became resource exporters, not wealth builders. Countries weak in infrastructure became interest-paying clients, not development success stories. Countries with political instability became loan-dependent subjects, not sovereign states. All while the global elite financial network grew wealthier, not by creating value, but by controlling flow, access, and timing. And here's the part nobody likes to mention. Some poverty zones are not accidents. They are strategic balance points for global economic stability. Modern solutions, debt forgiveness, monetary stimulus, foreign aid, development grants, and more appear humanitarian. Yet none of them rewrite the algorithm. Why? Because every solution offered so far operates inside the same debt-based system, requires borrowing to fix. Borrowing improves appearance, not foundation. Financial crisis gives bailout, gives inflation, gives austerity, gives rising debt, gives reset. Global South aid gives project funding, gives controlled dependency, gives repeated cycle. The machine never stops. It only adjusts variables. Today, individuals mirror nations. Student loans, credit card dependencies, subscription-based living, stagnant wages. You no longer buy life, you rent it. You don't own housing, you promise decades of labor. You don't own time, it is pre-sold through debt obligations. It has become personal. The debt cycle feels normal, and questioning it feels unrealistic. Money is no longer a representation of value, but a tool of influence. Wealth extraction happens not through theft, but through engineered financial erosion. Debt has replaced conquest as the primary mechanism of long-term control. No weapons, no rebellion, just perpetual repayment. Poverty is not the absence of wealth, it is the presence of unreachable margins. Systems evolve to maintain predictable inequality, not eliminate it. It's about awareness, because systems powered by ignorance collapse slowly, but systems confronted by understanding must evolve. It continues in your next decision, your next financial habit, your next question. The algorithm only works when people stop looking at the code,